What's up, guys? Kool-Aid here, and today we're going to talk engineer weapons. I'm going to give you guys a few recommendations as well as talk about why I avoid the weapons I don't use. And I am going to go off the premise that you are only going to be buying one weapon. I'm going to try and save you guys some search, and I'm going to try and point you guys the best weapon available for each of your factions. So first off, there are three weapon categories for the engineer. There is the carbines, the battle rifles, and the shotguns, which we'll talk about first. Now, I personally do not like the shotguns at all on the engineer class. For the light assault, they're not too bad because you have the jetpack. You can put yourself in better situations more easily. But for the engineer, the shotguns are just too limited. Pretty much anything outside of that 10-meter range is going to completely dominate you. There's just not a lot you can do about it. Now, there's the slug attachment, but I, again, wouldn't recommend that. I don't like them in shotguns, and I actually think it makes the shotguns worse. So I would avoid shotguns. They're just too circumstantial and too limited. Next, you have the battle rifles, and these are kind of limited in the opposite way of shotguns. These are going to get you dominated in close quarters. You're just going to get outmatched by high rate of fire weapons in close quarters and even out to medium ranges. Now, where these guns are going to shine is at longer ranges due to their lack of bullet drop off or damage drop off. The Warden and the AMR 66 are only going to drop off to 200 damage at 85 meters. The Eidolon is going to drop off to 167 at 125 meters. You know, that is the trade-off the VS have for having no bullet drop. But overall, I don't find myself using the engineer class in these long-range circumstances. I find myself more close quarters to medium range, and that's where your carbines are going to come into play. Now, within the carbine category itself, there is a lot of variance. Not nearly as extreme as the battle rifle or shotgun, but there's definitely some that are more long-distance oriented and some that are more short to medium range, and that's what I'm going to recommend to you guys. I am going to give you a couple options as VS and TR because you guys have two weapons that are very, very similar, just slight differences, and I'm going to throw them both out there and kind of let you guys pick between the two. I would not recommend buying both of them since they are so similar, but just pick one of them, and I don't think there's really a right or wrong choice. For the NC, there's only really one option that I like. That's the GD7F, which, you know, you're going to watch me use this entire video. It is my favorite gun by far for the engineer. So let's start going over the stats, and you guys will be able to see some of the reasons why I like these guns so much. Now, the GD7F does fire 845 rounds per minute, and that makes it pretty much not like any of the other NC guns. There's not many NC guns that even come close to that rate of fire, and that's why I like it so much. You can just absolutely mow people down with this thing. It is going to do 143 damage within 10 meters. That's going to be a 7-shot kill. It will drop down to 112 damage at 65 meters, making it a 9-shot kill. And this is with people not using nanoweave, of course. It's going to have a short reload time of 2.7 seconds, long reload of 3 seconds. So if you're running this thing dry, which you will a lot, you're not going to be penalized that much more than if you reload with rounds left in the magazine. It's going to have a recoil pattern of 3 up and to the left, and it's very easily controllable. You're going to see me using this entire time without a foregrip on it, and I really have no problem out to medium range controlling the recoil on this weapon. So the GD7F is going to be my lone gun recommendation for engineer for the NC. If you like something else out there, I'm not saying you're wrong. This is just my opinion, but I do honestly think that this is our best option as an NC engineer. It is just really good. So for the VS, we have actually two recommendations, and both of these are going to be very similar, so you would not want to choose both of these, but actually go with one or the other. We have the Serpent and the VX6-7. Now, the Serpent is going to do 845 rounds per minute, whereas the VX6 is only going to do 800 rounds per minute. Both of these guns are going to have 143 maximum damage out to 10 meters and are going to fall off to 100 damage at 115 meters. That is the trade-off for not having any bullet drop. I don't think, however, bullet drop is really going to ever factor into these weapons. At least it shouldn't. You're not going to be firing these at that long of range. Now, one of the big differences with these guns is the Serpent is going to have a 2.65 second short reload and a 3.8 second long reload. So you're going to want to, if you choose this gun, you're going to want to reload. Try to keep a round in the magazine before you reload because it has a very long reload time. The VX6-7 is actually a 2.15 second short reload and a 2.7 long reload. So even though you're losing a little bit of rate of fire, 45 rounds per minute, you are gaining quite a bit of reload time. And I would actually probably favor that reload time over the little bit of rate of fire. You're also, with the Serpent, going to get a little less recoil at 2.2 up and to the left, whereas the VX6-7, you're going to get 3 up and to the right. Not that big of a difference. One other thing to note about these two is the VX6-7, you are going to get a ×3 first shot multiplier. All the other carbines I'm going to recommend you is going to be a ×2 first shot multiplier. So that initial shot is going to give you a little bit more recoil with the VX6-7. However, if you're just holding down the trigger, that's something you're not going to notice after the first shot. So out of those two, I would probably go with the VX6-7 just because I think out of all the different factors there, the reload speed is the one that kind of stands out the most. However, neither of those two are really that much different from each other, and I don't think you could really go wrong with either. So next we'll talk about the TR, and again I have two recommendations for you guys as well. We have the LC2 Lynx and the LC3 Jaguar. Again, these are going to be very similar with some slight differences that I'll talk about. The LC2 Lynx is going to fire at 800 rounds per minute, whereas the LC3 Jaguar is going to fire at 750 rounds per minute. Both of these are going to do 143 maximum damage at 10 meters or within 10 meters, and going to fall off to 112 damage out to 65 meters. So again, 7-shot max damage range, 7-shot kill, and drop off to 9-shot kill at 112. Both of these are going to have a short reload of 2.8 seconds and a long reload of 3.5 seconds. Now, the difference here between the Lynx and the Jaguar, we've seen the 800 rounds per minute compared to the 750. The other difference is going to be that the Lynx has a recoil of 3 up and to the right, where the Jaguar has just a straight vertical recoil. So there is no left or right compensation at all, straight up. So if you are partial to recoil, if you have problems controlling recoil, you'd probably want to pick the Jaguar over the Lynx. Now, one important thing to note about both of these TR guns, and this is a little silly to me, is that they both hold 40 rounds in a magazine, whereas the VS and NC carbines only hold 30 rounds. To compensate for this, Sony gave these guns a slightly higher reload, but to me that's just completely ridiculous. Adding 10 more rounds per magazine and giving them a slightly longer reload is not anywhere near balance in my opinion. So I guess if you're TR, feel lucky you do have the best of the bunch in my opinion. One thing I did forget to mention is the Hipfire. The GD7F, the Serpent, and the LC2 Lynx are all going to have a cone of fire of 1.25 while standing still and 2 while moving, whereas the VX6-7 and the Jaguar are going to have a 1.25 while standing still and a 1.75 while moving. So those two guns are going to have a slightly tighter cone of fire when hip firing. So you can kind of factor that into your decision when deciding between the two. Personally, that's not going to make a huge difference. Even the GD7, the Serpent, and the Lynx are all still going to have really good hip fire, especially depending with what attachments you put on them, and that's what I'm going to talk about next. So I'm not going to recommend any optics. It's something I never do because it's a personal preference thing. As you can see, I'm running around with the iron sights for most of this video, but I will say that if you want to go with the night vision, that's a very good option. It has very little downside. The major downside with the night vision is its range, but you're not going to be using it with these guns at that range anyway. So what you're going to get out of using it is basically you're going to be able to see infiltrators that are cloaked, and you're going to be able to pick out enemies against camouflage that much easier. It's just a very good optic, and I pretty much recommend it for almost any gun. Even in the daytime, it's not bad. As far as soft point ammunition goes, this is in a category by itself. And again, I do recommend using this. What it's going to do is increase your maximum damage range out to 15 meters from 10 meters. So it's gonna basically, you're gonna be able to kill people in 7 bullets out to that 15-meter range, which is really nice. The negative effect is it's going to decrease your minimum bullet range, and it's going to make your projectile speed a little bit slower. But since we're not going to be engaging our targets out at those ranges anyway, the positive outweighs the negative, in my opinion. So I would recommend the soft point ammunition. Next category, we either have the suppressor or the flash suppressor, and I personally do not use either one of these. The suppressor is going to keep you off the minimap and lower the sound of your gun, but in trade-off, you are going to get a much slower bullet velocity. And to me, the engineer is just really not a stealthy class to begin with, so there's really not a lot of reason to do this. I mean, it's nice, but I don't like the trade-off here. Now, the flash suppressor isn't going to do a whole lot for you. All it's going to do is decrease your actual flash of your weapon. It's not going to do anything with the minimap. It's not going to make your gun quieter. It's just going to decrease that flash. The trade-off is you're going to have less accuracy when firing full auto, and again, in my opinion, I do not like the trade-off there, so I wouldn't recommend either one of these. So for the last category, we have the flashlight, the grip, and the laser, and eventually the advanced laser. Now, when I originally purchased the GD7F, I bought the grip for it right away. I knew I wanted to test both of them out. And when I took the grip back off, I really didn't notice that much of a difference. These guns are really easy to control, in my opinion, especially if you're using them in their proper ranges. Outside of that, you're really going to have to burst fire, or really control your fire, I should say. So I would recommend the laser and eventually the advanced laser. Each tier is going to cost you 100 points. And what this is really going to do is really tighten up your cone of fire while hip firing. And as you can tell from this video, I love to hip fire. It's basically going to let you get the jump on anybody that has to aim down sights in order to start shooting you. So, getting the jump is always obviously a nice thing. But anyways, as a whole, these are the guns I recommend. I would recommend the soft point ammunition and the advanced laser. Optics are up to you guys, but I would avoid the flash suppressor and the suppressor altogether. Now again, these are just my opinions. I'm definitely willing to debate. If you guys have better reasoning or options out there, let me know in the comment section. I would love to have some discussion with you guys. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, guys. I really do appreciate it. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I will talk to y'all later.